You're listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Nicholas Lewis. She's a trailblazing businesswoman, leader, philanthropist, and the widow of Reginald F. Lewis, the visionary leader who was the first African American to build $1 billion company. With unparalleled determination, Loida Lewis has not only excelled as a successful attorney, but also shaped a $1 billion empire. Following the untimely passing of her husband, Reginald F. Lewis, she took the helm of TLC Beatrice, carving her legacy as a successful business leader. Be inspired and learn from her as she shares her wisdom, the secrets to her success in both business, in love, and in life. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn. With your host, Miss Loida Lewis.
Welcome to the Loida Lewis Podcast. And today I have the pleasure of presenting to you the producer, writer, and director of the Philippine entry to the Oscar in 2025. And that is director Ramona Diaz. Thank you for being here, Ramona.
Thank you. It's really my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Well, we just saw your Oscar-nominated documentary, and so it begins. So if you can tell the audience, how did that start? It seems, and so it begins. So, the title is very intriguing.
So let me backtrack first. It's not nominated yet. The Academy might come after me for this information. So the process is a country chooses a film, which in itself is a big honor, right?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's nominated by the Philippine government.
It's chosen. Chosen, and then you have to get on the short list, and then you have to get a nomination.
Okay, so it's Philippine. The Philippines chose it. As its entry to the Oscar.
Yes.
So that is a big honor by itself.
Very much so. And
Yeah.
I'm really, it's overwhelming, because I'm a member of the Academy, so I saw it on the portal, and all the countries are listed, and then my film is listed, but with
That's the first
Philippines.
time you saw it.
Yeah, I saw it on the portal, and it was overwhelming. It's sort of, it made me proud to represent the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So nobody told you that the Philippines is going to have that film as its chosen film documentary for the Oscar?
They solicit nominations in the Philippines, but because of the nature of the film and because of the political realities in the Philippines, I thought I had no chance of being chosen. Let's be real, So I even told them, I told the Film Academy, do you really want me to submit? Because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time if we're just like playing games. They said, no, please submit because we need to have a film like yours to discuss. And we just want to see, just please submit. I said, okay, for you guys, I will submit. So I submitted and didn't think twice about it. I mean, I forgot, right? And moved on. And then they called me like 3 weeks later on a Friday. And I remember so well because I was in the Philippines then. For the theatrical release of the film, and I was going shopping with my aunt. I remember in Rockwell, and the Philippine Academy, one of its jury members, kept on calling me. He kept calling me and calling me and calling me. I'm like, oh my God, they want something else, right? They need another piece of paper from me or something. So I kept saying later. Then he said, please call me now, and so I called him. And then he told me, I'm like, are you sure you have the right filmmaker? Are you sure you have the right film? I can check again. So it was, so that's what happened.
All right. So for the audience, can you tell them what is this film about that you thought the government would not even touch it?
First of all, it's a documentary. So seldom does the Philippine Academy of the Philippines choose a documentary. Usually it's fiction. That's one thing. And it's a political documentary. And it talks about... really, the backdrop is the 1920 2022, not 1922, 2022 presidential elections when Leni Robredo ran against Ferdinand Marcos Jr. And it talks about not only the campaign, but it goes back in history and talks about the so-called golden age, which wasn't a golden age. It talks about martial law and the human rights abuses and the gold that was never, really, that never came to fruition.
The Taliado gold.
The Taliano gold. It never really appeared and it's all the reversioning of history, right? And given that, he won the presidency, he's in power, the Marcoses are in power, I didn't think they would choose it. Which was very interesting to me, which goes to show I think there is there's room for these kinds of films. And I think the Marcoses are also realize that they can't censor everything. And maybe censoring things will call more attention to it. Since in a way, this is the second generation Marcoses, right? They're more sophisticated. So I think they just let it be.
Okay. So for those who have not yet seen it, but can you tell me, is it allowed in the Philippines to be shown?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we had a very robust theatrical release. It's still in some theaters in the Philippines right now, 11 weeks out.
11 weeks out in the Philippines and people are watching it. So was there any kind of boycott or a rally or, no, I won't touch, we're not going to see it. That kind of thing from the government or civil society?
No, because, they can't really go after Leni Robredo, right? In a way, she is untouchable because there is this feeling that she's not, and I think I mentioned this last night during the Q&A for the film, that she's incorruptible. And that's the magic of Leni. And she is, right? So going after her is so unseemly, right? Of course, Duterte did it all the time, but that's Duterte. So in a way, it's a different time. I'm not saying it's a better time. It's just different in tone. And so to go after her and the kakampings, of course, there were trolls who said, oh, that's just propaganda because it's election period. There will always be that. But not in masses, and I think the people really came out to support the film.
Okay, so it's in the movie theaters all over the Philippines.
In 1 or 2 theaters now, because it's already 11 weeks. It's already, it's been, but we are gonna take it out to all the schools across the country, and we plan to show it in like plazas for free, in places where there are no, they can't access theaters, right? So we want to make it accessible to everyone, even, especially the places that have a hard time finding it.
So there was no boycotting. There was no hesitation on the part of movie theaters to show it.
Oh, no, there was hesitation. So, So we were supposed to have a national release, which meant all the big theaters picked it up, right? But after our premiere at Cinemalaya, the Movie Television Radio Classification Board, MTRCB, got a complaint about the film, and we were called in. Me, my distributors, usually it's my distributor, but I was in the country. They said, you want to come? Usually the filmmaker does not come. I said, of course I want to come, right? So the whole board was there, the entire board, and their executive director and two lawyers.
Okay, for those who may not be aware, all films shown in the Philippines pass through this board, all right? And so she was called yes.
Yeah, and already previously the board gave me a PG rating.
PG, parental guidance.
Yeah.
That means to say it's okay, it's not X, double X, not triple X.
Not even PG-13, not even PG-16 or 18, PG. So that means, it's significant, it means SM can show it. Because SM does not show anything that's not PG. And SM, as you know, is the widest distributor, largest theatrical chain. So they called us in and they wanted me to, take a scene out because it was in violation. Or someone complained and they rewatched the film after the PG rating and determined that I was in violation of one of the rules that said you should not undermine authority. That is a problem for art, right?
Wow. a scene that they wanted you to take out.
Yes, a scene. And it's a very silly scene because they wanted me to take out Maria Ressa because Maria's in the film. Maria Ressa, she wins the Nobel Peace Prize in the film and then gives her speech in Oslo. They wanted me to take out that part where she gives a speech because it talks about the Marcoses forming a social media army and reversioning history. And I said, first of all, that's a very known speech. This is 2021. It's the Nobel Peace Prize. It is not secret. It's not, it's not something that we're expose. It's not expose.
It was shown all over the world. It was the
All
Nobel
over
Peace Prize.
And a lot of Filipinos had seen the speech. That's first. Second of all, I said, it's true that he did that. And it's well known. The third thing is that, this is a freedom of speech and freedom of expression issue.
That's in the Constitution.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I said, unless your rules supersede the Constitution, I don't think I'm going to take it out. And then
you stood your ground.
Yeah, yes. So they said, and it's so funny because all this time I'm texting Maria. I'm like, oh my God, she goes, oh, just fight them. Naman Maria. I'm like, okay, I'll just fight them. But so at the end, I said no. And they came back and said, okay, if you don't want to take it out, that's fine. You can keep your rating. But
that's a victory already.
It is in itself. But as you know, in the Philippines, nothing happens in a vacuum. You already know the other shoe is about to drop. So my distributor said, yay, very happy. I said, no, something is about to happen. And true enough, the next day, 3 of the biggest theatrical distributors pulled out.
See, that's a power of authority. All right. Somebody up there said, and now, they're in business. So I don't really blame them.
Yes.
They are in business. So they don't want to go against the ruling class, the ruling power.
But they should. All right.
Well, we should stand the ground, but not everyone follows
that. Other theaters stood with us. Mm-hmm. And nothing happened.
Can be seen in Rockwell.
Yeah, Rockwell Gateway, which is if we're going to talk about families in the Philippines, because we always talk about families, Rockwell is Lopez and Gateway is Araneta. So they stood with us really and stuck out, and really it played so long in the theaters.
11 weeks.
But, okay, to be fair to SM, just to be fair, they allowed block screenings. Mm-hmm. And SM is the largest theatrical chain in the country. And we had over 100 block screenings. Mm-hmm. That means...
Explain block screening.
A block screening is one person buys out the entire theater. The entire screening. And then they're responsible for selling the tickets. So we couldn't do a national release at SM, but they said, no, you're allowed to do block screenings. And that was truly, truly... helpful, because there were some cities where they wanted block screenings that only SM was available. That's the only theater available. Naga, for one, that's Lenny Robredo's hometown. So it really helps. So just as a caveat, SM still allowed that, and that was very, very helpful.
Yes. No, that is also business. The whole theater is rented. And then the one who rent it sells their own tickets, but at least people see it. So for those of you, and so it begins, is really the story of the election of 2022, where Lenny Robredo is shown there with all the pink crowd, and yes, it shows also BBM President Marcos Jr., but it also showed the misinformation. You were able to get the martial law, what happened to people who dissented. You were able to put it in, and then there is the misinformation.
Yes.
So what do you think is what was your real intention? What was your intention when you were making the film, writing it out, and putting things together? Because the hardest thing is the editing.
Yeah.
It's 90 minutes.
Yeah.
To put everything in 90 minutes.
As I always say, my films are interrogations. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily answers, but they're definitely questions. And I think open-ended questions are more interesting because it makes people think about their own, their own place in history, their own place in the world, because every answer is unique to the person. So that was my intention. And although it is a campaign film, it's really not a campaign film in the regular way that you'll see strategy and policy. I wanted it more to be about culture and of the moment, and like a reversioning and disinformation, because that's really of the moment. So I wanted it to be that, and also about religion and why we vote against our self-interest, right? And sort of this, why we're drawn to strongmen and fascism in a way. Why is that? And the maybe unfulfilled promises of the 1986 People Power Revolution that played, a hand too. So all that. So it's a very complicated situation. It's not just one thing. It's all of it, right?
Exactly. So for those who are going to see it, when you come out, you're still asking questions, and that's why I think your title, "And So It Begins," is really, and so it begins what? So each one has to answer after watching that documentary, that film. You come out. So what's the conclusion? You make your own conclusion. Is that more or less? Yeah.
Yes, and some version of the cut, one of the earlier cuts, or maybe a late cut, ended on election day, and when I saw it, I'm like, gosh, it's so sad. Where do you go? It's a dead end, right? And dead ends are never
not good to end the movie.
Yeah,
with a dead end.
Yeah, and not interesting, really, right? Because what are you gonna do? So we said, okay, what else happens? And really, 4 days later, she has this Thanksgiving rally at the Ateneo, and thousands and thousands of people showed up. And we said, let's end on that, and let's see what she says, right? Because of course I'm filming, but I forget, you're filming so intensely. And then at that rally, she says, you can see this as an end, or you can see this as just the beginning. And then Mara Cepeda of Rappler says, yeah, if you want to organize, it has to be the day after elections. We have to stick together and move on and do something. So that was the key. So we landed on that. We landed on hope and beginnings, as opposed to dead ends, because dead ends are not productive, especially given this political moment, right? That is not, what do you do with that? So that was the thinking. And because of that, then we could extend the role of Rappler and Maria and how they deal with a Marcos administration. Because it's a new reality. How does journalism also pivot? Because they have to in this day and age.
No, I really recommend everyone to take time, if you, wherever you are, when it comes to your province, to your city, to your state, to take a look, because it will, at the end, you will say, what was that? But I'm so glad that you did end on an upbeat. That's why the title is at the end, and so it begins. Yes, thank you. So this is from Sonia D. What are the core themes of "And So It Begins" that you are hoping to convey, and how did you approach highlighting them? Mer, you mentioned it already, but for Sonia.
Yeah. Well, I think of themes when I think of the film, but once I'm putting it together, themes don't make films, right? Characters and behavior make films. So of course themes guide you, but sometimes they ebb and flow. And it's really the character of Maria, the character of Lenny Robredo, and what they do in times of crisis. Because I usually enter a person's life when I film them in the midst of this sort of, usually it's a watershed moment, right? Lenny running for president, Maria getting arrested, and then eventually winning the Peace Prize, right?
With 9 cases filed against her.
Yes. So, I mean, those are, so I think, and that's very telling of character when they're under these sort of distress periods, right? And I like observing character. So that's what I really do. Of course, there's there are themes of social justice and democracy and and stuff like that. It's all there, but it's not. Hopefully, it's not foregrounded in your face, because at the end of the day, history is about people who act, right? It's individual action and behavior, and that's what I think is more granular in that manner.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Now, this is from Karen K. What was the biggest challenge you faced while filming And So It Begins, and how did you overcome it?
It's always difficult filming a documentary because you never know where it's going to go. And the way I film documentaries, I don't do historical docs where you already know, right? History, you work with archival footage, you know how it's going to end, you interview people. I work with real people and unfolding lives. And real people are lovely, and I love them, and I love the people I film, but they are people every day. They have moods, and they change their minds and all that. And you have to just go with it, right? Because even if they gave permission and signed that little paper and say, yes, we give you access, the fact is they're humans, right? Sometimes they want to film, sometimes they don't. And that you have to understand, especially when it's a high-stakes environment, like gosh, a campaign, right? So you learn to choose your battles, I think. But it's always hard. I mean, physically, it's hard. I mean, I had a really young DP. Oh, my God. He was
What is the DP?
The director of photography, the cinematographer. First time I used a local cinematographer because I couldn't bring anyone in. Usually I bring someone in from the States. And he stepped up. He's a commercial cinematographer. And commercial cinematographers film very differently from documentary cinematographers. It's a very different mode of thinking, of being actually in a room. Usually commercial directors are so quick in their shots because it's a commercial. You don't need immersive scenes. I need immersive scenes. So it was a matter of teaching him to hold his shots. Like Bruce, he had a beautiful eye already. So that was the basis. But he needed to really just hold your shots. Give me a scene. So that was challenging, but I love the process of filming. You know, it's a crazy way to make a movie because you don't know the beginning, middle, or end. You don't know. It's just let's see. It's very zen, but that's every obstacle is the path, right? There will be an obstacle. You just have to figure out. Okay, of course, there's an obstacle. How do we go through it, go around it, to get to the other side? It is what it's going to be.
The can-do spirit. That's the can-do spirit. All right. For So It Begins, did any unexpected themes or messages merge during filming that influenced the final cut? And that's from Vic P.
Themes, we talked about already, but and I always say this, I'm not prescriptive when it comes to messages in a film because I don't think that's what film does best. Film gives you an experience of something, and what you take out of it is really totally up to you. I think it's I think that's a thankless job to give a. Okay, let me quote the Russian filmmaker Tarkovsky, who said. And I usually mess up this quote because it's like sort of a word salad. But he says, 1,000 books read is 1,000 different books. Depending on who you are, your lived experience, if you got up on the wrong side of bed that morning, I cannot control any of that. So depending on that, you will get the message somehow, a message for you.
That's great. Very
Thank
good.
you.
As you said, very zen. All right. Now from Nico N. What do you hope audience will react or respond to the documentary? And So It Begins.
I hope they have an open mind when they watch it. I hope they find humor, because I think it's humorous, because Filipinos are really funny, I find. So it's important for me to have humor in my films. I hope they find it funny and also engaging, and something that resonates with them within themselves. That's what I hope.
Yes. Well, for myself, I cried because it's so well reminiscent of Lenny's loss. And also, we just had an election here. No, another woman, Kamala Harris, lost too. So it was painful on that part. Yes, all right. The other one from Mitch J. Are there filmmakers or documentaries that have influenced you on how to make your documentaries?
Oh my gosh, so many. I mean, Errol Morris, Fred Wiseman, Alan Berlinger. I mean, a lot of filmmakers. It depends on what kind of film I'm making. Those are then the filmmakers I'm obsessed about. I think it's the best film school is really to watch films.
Mm-hmm. Okay, for those aspiring filmmakers, that is an not a command, but a voice of wisdom. Just watch films. Thank you. All right. And the last one is, here. What advice do you have for emerging filmmakers, particularly those interested in documentary storytelling? I guess you said something, but for those who are aspiring documentarists.
Okay. Oh, gosh. Don't run after the center. Don't run after the zeitgeist.
The what?
The zeitgeist, the center. Don't run, because the center always moves. Don't run after fads. You really have to listen to your own voice and the story you want to tell. And that's the only way you can get to some kind of genuine film. It has to come from deep inside of you. And if you're always looking around thinking, I think I want to make horror because,
it makes
genre,
money.
it makes money, but you're not a horror person, don't make horror, right? So don't keep chasing the center, because after a while, the center comes to you.
All right. Authenticity.
Yes.
Be true to yourself.
Yes,
Very
absolutely.
good. Well, this is for my own question. How did you become, what was your dream? I mean, when you were growing up, was there something there that says, okay, this is what I want to do? Or was becoming a filmmaker, a documentary, something that just fell on your lap?
I've always loved movies. To me, they took me to places that were outside my lived experience, and I guess that is what I want.
Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Manila.
And so, who were the filmmakers that caught your attention?
Bernal.
Ismael Bernal.
Lino Broca.
Lina Broca.
And I used to watch a lot of those films. I got involved with Nora versus Vilma a lot. I was a Noranian.
Yes.
But
Nora.
Yeah, Nora. So I loved those films. I also loved going to Alliance Francaise because they would have like French films and Italian films. And my father was very supportive of it. Like he would allow me to go to those places. Sometimes it was so way out, So those were my influence. I loved films, and then I loved photography. And it was my dad who gave me my first camera because he knew I loved taking photographs.
Was that a Brownie or a
Canon AE1.
Canon? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very, very high for functioning camera.
Yes, yeah.
So he really must have thought very well of you. Yes.
I think he was he never fulfilled his own dreams as an artist, and I think he just wanted to he just wanted to encourage me. And I was also, Tita, in the Philippines, I was 6 out of 7. They already had their doctors. They already had the people that they would keep them legitimate. And so I was only the 6th. They're like, you want to be an artist? Oh, okay, so cute. Okay, so great, right? That I was one of the youngest.
You were allowed to do whatever you want.
Exactly.
Yes.
So by accident of birth, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted. Yeah, it wasn't left on me to keep them honest, right?
To keep them, I was a good parent. I have a doctor, I have a lawyer, I have a teacher, accountant. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
And as a result, here you are, shining
thank you.
internationally.
Thank you.
Yes, because your first, the one that I saw also that you created was 1,000 Cuts.
Yes.
And that's on PBS.
Yes.
Public Broadcasting System.
Yes, so if you Google Frontline 1,000 Cuts, you'll get it. You get it for free here in the States, and we made it available in the Philippines for free as well.
Right. 1,000 Cuts is a story of the Duterte years where people were killed in poor neighborhoods.
During the drug war.
During
Yeah.
the drug war.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's 1,000 Cuts, including Maria Resa's experience.
Yeah, so it was really the Duterte years through the eyes of Maria.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so
Okay.
deeply through her eyes and deeply through her. Those were the years that Rappler was under. It was besieged every time. It was also the years that she was getting a lot of arrests. Yeah.
One final question. Were you not scared that you might also be eliminated?
Yes, and yes and no. And my biggest fear was with my crew, right? Because they're local. They stay there. I leave. My DP can leave, or not this time. My cinematographer was local. So every night it was an assessment, especially for 1,000 Cuts. That was a little bit more scary because it's really not the crazies. And no, it's really not Duterte himself I'm afraid of. It's the crazies around him who think that they'll do him a favor, right? And what you're riding a lot with Maria Ressa in the car, and she's donning a bulletproof vest. You're in the car with her, so it makes you think twice, right? And you're like, the driver is a bulletproof vest. Her guard is I'm like, and then my cinematographer was in the back. So we tried it, and we're like, there's no way. Have you ever?
No. I know it's heavy.
So heavy. And so you have to have really strong upper body strength. And we're running after Maria. There's no way. Even my DP, he was like 6 feet and strong. He goes, and hot. And it's hot, right? So he goes, it's so hot. I can't run with this. I got to take it off. But know that we've been advised, right? So every day is a risk assessment and your own personal threshold. But just knowing that, okay, but I always feel like my imagined regret would always be bigger than the present risk. So I always go for it.
Yes.
And bahala na si Batman.
There you go. Bahala na. She goes for it. Thank you very much, Ramona. Yes, thank you. All right, there you go. So this is the Loida Lewis Podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together. Thank you,
Oh,
Ramona.
you're very welcome. My pleasure.
The Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Lewis, is produced by the creators of Over a Glass or Two, Jesse and JV, executive produced by Laura Nicholas Olace. Rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for a chance to be featured on a future episode. Have a question for Miss Loida? Just email us on askloidalewis@gmail.com. Your question might make its way to a future episode. Subscribe on all major platforms to never miss a beat. Thank you for listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together